It was also a year ago today that Northeast Wisconsin saw its first confirmed cases of the coronavirus. 2 people in Fond du Lac County had tested positive and were hospitalized. One a contract worker from out of state, the other a man who had recently returned from a vacation in Egypt. New at 4, Emily Matesic spoke with the owners of that travel agency that led the trip. She joins us from the Fox Valley newsroom as they reflect on this past year. Emily.
Yeah, Jeff, 23 people traveled with Someday Travel on that Egyptian river cruise. They returned to Northeast Wisconsin on March 4th. All but one of the travelers eventually tested positive for the coronavirus. One of the travelers died from COVID-19. Valerie and Wayne Gracek, owners of Someday Travel, led that group to Egypt. After returning on March 4th from the trip that included a 7-day cruise on the Nile, some of the travelers were feeling ill. But after consulting with the Fond du Lac County Health Department, which was following CDC guidelines at the time, travelers were advised not to be concerned with the coronavirus because they hadn't been in Europe where cases were increasing. Things changed a week later on March 11th when one of those travelers, Dale Witkowski, tested positive and was hospitalized before passing away 8 days later. Wayne Gracek was also hospitalized for a week, eventually recovering from the virus. The Graceks were devastated with what happened, but they've also learned to appreciate life a little bit more.
I have to say for myself, it's been a year of deep gratitude, really embracing the moment and celebrating that we're together. So we're not wasting any time. We are fully living our lives.
I have virtually no medical background. My background's logistics.
Yet Sean Ryan, veteran race director, has found himself in uncharted waters, surrounded by all things medical and not a thing to do with a distance run or triathlon. But when COVID-19 canceled the dozen or so races Ryan usually coordinates each year, he was left with a lot of time on his hands. Enter Bellin Health.
I was only helping out on a temporary basis with COVID testing, but one thing led to another, and they needed help with vaccination planning.
He's used to setting up runner villages, as they call the areas where runners gather on race weekends. So he's putting those skills to use to become Bellin's logistics lead for mass vaccinations, setting up Lambeau's Vaccine Village in partnership with Brown County Public Health and the Packers.
Well, you learn as a race organizer, a lot of your planning and thinking goes into how to move a significant volume of people through a bottleneck. And in this case, it's about how do we turn a thing like a gymnasium or a hospital hallway or the atrium at a football stadium into a venue where we can move a significant amount of people through and get them vaccinated efficiently.
All that planning requires someone who thinks big picture and logistics. It's what race directors are born to do, which might be why Ryan says he's not the only race organizer taking on this new role.
I've talked to several other race directors. I know my counterparts out in Boston have already set up, I think, a half a dozen clinics.
The Lambeau mass vaccination site is the 5th one Ryan has helped set up for Bellin. And while he likes this new challenge, he's hoping the thousands being vaccinated here each week help get him back to his old job, and very soon.
It's very fulfilling. You know, I like to say to people that COVID took away my career completely last year. So now I feel like I get to fight in the front lines against COVID. So I'm helping the medical team to beat back COVID and hopefully get our society back to normal.
Sarah Thompson, Action 2 News, Green Bay.
The old saying goes, Brittany, it keeps you young.
For Bob Hall, truer words had never been spoken, especially when there's an early morning wake-up call.
I don't, move as fast as I used to, so I'm up at 4:30. That's dark 30.
He says the first 10 minutes aren't always the easiest.
I go, gosh, I gotta go in today.
But once he gets through that and remembers his task at hand,
I'm all fired up, ready to go.
The California native moved to Wisconsin a few years ago to be closer to his son and retire, spending most of his career in medical, surgical sales and pharmaceuticals.
I came here, decided I was done.
That is, until the pandemic hit.
Of course, that changed everybody's life,
including Bob's, as Wisconsin, like many other states, issued emergency waivers to healthcare workers to get back into the workforce if they left the field or retired.
The state of Wisconsin made those who had previously held a license or a license in another state make it easier for them to work with in Wisconsin.
Bob still has an active pharmacy license in 2 states, California and Nevada.
I thought, wow, this is a way for me to help be a part of the solution.
So Bob's son texted a friend who just so happened to be Purveya Health's president and CEO, Dr. Ashok Rai.
The only thing we really need is a pharmacist. And all of a sudden, when you're on an iPhone, you see the ... that somebody's typing, I see the ... and I get, he's a pharmacist. And I said, I need his name and number right away.
It was kind of a, for lack of a better word, I'll say a flutter in my heart. My heart was beating fast. And I thought, wow, this is something I want to do.
In no time, Bob joined the Purveya Health family.
We dilute it, draw it all up.
Dr. Rai says about 70% of new hires Purveya Health obtained to work at its community COVID-19 vaccination clinics statewide are retirees.
It was just a great opportunity for us to expand that source of people to help vaccinate our community and get us to that finish line quicker.
Bob says administering vaccines has never been easier.
98% of them are really happy to be there. And you see the joy, and you do see it in their eyes. You see the smile in their eyes, even though they've got a mask on.
And if you look closely, the smile goes both ways.
It all happened so quick and I was so overwhelmed. A really touching thank you card.
Even if the wake-up call is 4:30 in the morning.
That's what drives me to do this, is those thank you cards. So it was very touching to get that.
In Green Bay, Brittany Schmidt.
Until they tell me I'm done, I'm on board.
Action 2 News.
Annie Krall hears from health experts and parents about what today's milestone means to them.
We're here at Aurora Baycare Medical Center, where the first children in Green Bay between the ages of 5 to 11 got their COVID-19 vaccine. And besides that, they got their own COVID-19 vaccine card.
We've been waiting for this day for a very long time, and we have a 1-year-old at home that's not eligible to be vaccinated yet, so we're adding to our circle to keep him safe, and very excited to get Nathan vaccinated so we can in fact go to Florida once we can get the little one too.
Ashley and Matt's son Nathan was the first child at Aurora Baycare Medical Center to receive the COVID-19 vaccine. Now that he's vaccinated, he wants to go to Florida and Disney World. Bellin Health also rolling out vaccines for children Friday morning, having 1,500 vaccines on hand for the next few days. For health professionals, vaccinating children can be slightly different than adults.
Obviously, we had to prepare to have our room set up, and some of those things that we have for kids like we normally do when we vaccinate, so stickers and color pages and crayons, those things are a little bit different, but otherwise the flow of our clinic is pretty well the same.
The sooner we get children vaccinated, the sooner that the spread stops, the better off we are as a society.
Dr. Donald Bino is asking for everyone's patience to fill up appointments as they try and vaccinate as many children as possible. In Green Bay, Annie Krall, Action 2 News.
You are very concerned about this wave and this winter.
Yeah, we call it waves of COVID-19 now. We see the spikes on the graph and all that. Omicron's not a wave. Omicron is a tsunami. And as we start to see how fast it replicates, South Africa, what we saw in what we're seeing in the UK, what we're seeing in New York, it's a level of replication that we could not have imagined. You remember almost 2 years back, I said this was this virus replicated like we'd never seen before. Now multiply that by factors of 70, and that's what we're starting to see in certain studies. So it's very scary, and we're not raising an alarm bell just to create panic. We're not trying to do something unrealistic. We're not saying lock it down. This is going to spread so fast and so powerful. We only have one defense right now, and that's to get as many people vaccinated as we can.
Last year, when the coronavirus was just emerging, we asked viewers to leave messages about how they were doing. We heard their fear, their frustration, but also their hope.
Now, more than a year later, our Brittany Schmidt reconnected with some of those people to see how they are doing now.
I'm better. Last year was extremely hard. I'm not doing well at all with this. I don't understand why some people think that this isn't a big deal. I don't like leaving here because I'm just scared to go anywhere. I'm really scared. November, I kind of broke down with the stress. It was hard. It was very hard. But I'm better now. I'm able to get out more for a year. My husband's nephew went once a week to grocery shop for us. So, I learned how to make do with what I had. Both my husband and I were so very, very grateful to have gotten the Pfizer vaccine against COVID this year. So I'm getting used to being around people again. What I learned is that, trying to follow what my parents did in World War II, is that you always put your country and your fellow citizens first.
Hi, Brittany. My name is Jackie Feistel. I'm currently laid off from my job as a hairstylist, so I'm enjoying being able to give my body a break from the long hours of being on my feet. I'm also learning how negative people can be. When life gives you lemons, you make lemonade, right? There's no use in complaining about a situation that you can't control. Even though there was a lot of negativity during that time, I will say it was actually a blessing in disguise for me. Like I said, it gave me time to really focus on myself and think about my life. And it actually made me realize a very toxic relationship that I was in. So I was able to think about that process and how to get out of that, which actually I got divorced. But now I have found an amazing man in my life. So it's, the pandemic now, yeah, we're not out of it, but it's really about new beginnings for me at least, because I feel like now my whole life has changed for the better. So I wish the best of luck to everyone. Thank you.
Brittany, this is Danielle Sayer calling. One of my fears is I have to share my oldest daughter in 2 different homes, not being able to control what happens at the other home with her safety. One of the fears I had earlier in the pandemic has been subsiding as the vaccines come out, which I also feel is a big triumph. The biggest triumph I had is I have a 1.5-year-old and I have got to experience every single one of her milestones. Enjoy the time with your family, take the time to be with them, and that's what makes everything better.
Hey, Brittany, this is Pam Miller calling. I guess what I missed the most is seeing my dad. I have my dad in an assisted living facility, so I talk to him on a daily basis and FaceTime with him and try to do as much as I can to keep him safe and keep his spirits up. The last time that we as family were able to see my dad was July 19th, 2020. I did lose my dad to COVID on August 7th of 2020. I think the worst was not being able to be with him when he passed. Getting that last hug, that last kiss, that last I love you. It wasn't there for us. 2 weeks after my father passed, we were blessed with our first grandchild. So that's what I've said to people is, we truly are living the circle of life. So again, thank you for reaching out, and take care, and I hope you are doing well. Thank you. Bye now.
As you just heard, not everyone's story has a happy ending. But what we are hearing from all of you is just to keep going. Keep finding the good, persevere through the bad, and keep going. I'm Brittany Schmidt for Action 2 News.